we're going to show you how to manage the actual classroom interface itself, and this assumes that you've already watched the video on how to create an online event in Project Sinai. So assuming you've seen that, that video ends where this one begins, and again, because we're logged in as an administrator for our channel, this orange button says enter on it, allowing any administrator to get in, or presenter to get into the classroom at any point once the event is created. If you're a user, obviously this button would say sign up, and you wouldn't be able to actually get into the space until 15 minutes before the class was taking place. So we're going to just click the enter button here, and this will take us into our workspace or our classroom, and this is the default layout. Here we have these 1, 2, 3 windows represent 3 different video feeds, and of course we can have 8 video feeds happening simultaneously in an event. But what I'm going to show you in this particular case is how to set up an event, which is more of a typical event where we have one presenter, a PowerPoint, and chat happening in the event. So the first thing we're going to do is rearrange this window, these windows, to suit our layout. And for the time being, what I'm going to do, get rid of those 2, drag out this one. I'm going to move our chat down below here, and again let's extend that like that. Now we can choose obviously to list a group of users, all the users that are in the event, if we want to show that, have that window open. If not, we can just simply eliminate it. For now, I'm going to leave it active. And it's important if we're planning to use a PowerPoint in this presentation, that we upload it and resize the window once we've uploaded it, because you'll see here, I'm going to do that now. Let's go to slides, just click on the slide tab, show a set of slides, upload a presentation. There we go. Now we have to wait a moment for these slides to upload and convert. And there it is. So we're going to select that, click OK. Now I'm going to close this window, and there's my PowerPoint. So you see the window that I created, that I sized initially, was a little bigger than this standard PowerPoint frame, but if we stretch this like that, that fits perfectly there. We're going to keep our user window in here. We're going to make it a little smaller. And this question box is, again, something that you could have open in your event. You could choose to keep it closed if you like, meaning just completely eliminated. The question box is generally there so that people who want to ask a private question and don't want to have their comments seen by all the participants in the event, which would happen if they were typing in the chat here. So this window allows users to enter in a private, or sometimes we'll use the space for them to enter technical questions as well. So if they're having any technical issues, they don't write that information into the chat box and disrupt the flow of the class. So right now we're going to add in a command line here so that people can see this. And we're going to say ask Rick a private or technical question here. And we're going to hit update, and now you see that text is presented here. Now that this is basically our layout, we're going to go to the layout menu, and we're going to say save layout, and we're going to call that main. That's our main layout. Click make layout, and now that layout is saved. So anytime we come back into this space, it will be there. For example, this is where we started, and now we're going to use this particular layout. And again, this area here is the area where my video will go, the presenter's video will go. Participants can chat down here. Because I'm logged in again as an administrator or presenter for this class, I have access to all these tabs at the bottom. A regular user would not see them. Their interface would look more like this without any of these tabs. And as we can see, we have our slides, and I can just have 3 slides in there, and we can just tab between those here. So this is where I would run my actual slides or change my slides while I'm doing my presentation. And here we can close the presentation, go back to a whiteboard, and this show slide button here allows us to show a specific slide. So I can actually go back, if I want to go back to my welcome slide without actually switching it via these controls here. I can just click on the slide that I want to show and hit show slide. If I want to skip number 1 and go to number 2, I can say show slide. So that's how that works. And of course here we have a little preview of what's coming up next. So if you can kind of see what's happening before you switch slides. So that's essentially how the slides presentation or PowerPoint section works. The other option that we have here, the other tab, is for polls and quizzes. So if I want to create a new poll, I just click create new poll. And again, keep in mind this is a multiple choice question that really has no right or wrong answer. That's why it's a poll, and you'll see why that is in a moment. So we're gonna create a poll, and we want to get a sense of our audience. So we're gonna create a poll, and we're gonna say, what age range do you fall into? Question. Okay, I'm 10 years old to 15, 16 to 25, 26 to 40, and we'll say 41 plus. And we're going to say create poll, and there's my poll, and I can close this. And now during my event, when I want to run this poll, I simply have to click on this poll tab, click on this drop down right here, and there's my poll. And again, I can have a number of polls here and just select the one I want. Select that poll and click start poll, and there we see the poll. And you'll notice down here in this area we have a percentage scale, and this will actually change in real time, and you can see the results in real time as people are clicking on their screen. So for example, if I click C and submit it, you'll see that this says 100% of the people that took the poll are C, between that particular age range. And once I submit it, of course, the poll disappears. And that will happen for everybody on their screen as well. And of course, I can also just show the results if I want for all of the viewers to see, so they can get a sense of also what the results of that poll were. Close that, and I can go back to polls. The other function that you can have in this tab is the ability to create a quiz. So quiz, for example, is we're going to create a new quiz. A quiz is a series of questions where there is a right or wrong answer, and you can have one particular quiz with an infinite number of questions. So for example, we're going to call this quiz, what do you know about the state of New York? Okay. That's our quiz. We're going to hit create quiz. Click on that again and add a problem. So this is our first question under this quiz. How many people live in New York? So I don't know the answers to these questions. I'm just making them up as I go here. Okay. 75 people, 1 to 2 million, more than 10 million. Okay, so we have 3 answers, and here we have the option to select the correct answer. So I'm going to assume that the right answer to this question is more than 10 million. I think that's a fair guesstimate. So we're going to go create that problem, and now we're going to add another problem. What NHL team calls MSG their home? And we're going to say the Islanders, the Rangers, or the Sabres. I'm a hockey fan, so I'll know the answer to this one. It's the New York Rangers. So we're going to select that as the correct answer and create that problem. So now you see we have 2 questions, and again we can add as many questions as we want here. We're going to save those changes, close that, and now in our event when we want to run this quiz, same way we did with polls, we select it, start quiz, and you see the first question pops up. How many people live in New York? Well, I'm going to say there are 1 to 2 million people, and I'm going to submit that. You'll notice what turns green is actually the correct answer. So I see that I got that one wrong, but I'm going to go to the next problem. And the next problem, what NHL team calls MSG their home? I'm going to say the Rangers, submit that, and because there are only 2 questions here, it ends, and I should see the results. I got 1 right and 1 wrong, and that's 50%. So again, this system will track all the users as they enter their information and complete the quizzes and the polls. I can close that, and when I close it, it closes for everybody, but I can stop the quiz, and that's how I show a quiz. And again, I can many people like this option if they're running a class and they want to make sure that the participants are watching a recording of the class from beginning to end, or participating in the class from beginning to end. They'll throw up these quizzes or polls periodically through the class to make sure that participants are actually watching. They didn't turn their computer on or turn the event on and go to Starbucks. So again, what's interesting here is we have a reporting function which tracks all this information. So for example, in quizzes, we can see here's the quiz that we selected. What do you know? Here's the 2 questions. And if I click on those, actually, I don't know if it's good. There I am. Okay, I can select users. It shows me, this will have a list of all the users in this event. What do you know? The first question, or this quiz, and it shows me here are the 2 answers. Here are the two questions that were asked, and it shows me that Rick got the first one right and this one wrong. So, or actually, this is the first one and this is the second one. So again, this also works for polls as well, where it'll track the users, and you can see their responses. If I go to polls, I can see here Rick selected 26 to 40, and this shows the complete results of the poll. I can also get a report on logins to see I've logged into this event several times, so that's why my name is there several times, but that shows you who's actually logged in at that particular moment. So that's how polls and quizzes work. Chat is pretty self-explanatory. If I want to actually clear all the chat at some point, or I've been playing around with this and now I want to just keep it clean for when actual participants come into the real event, I can just hit clear it, and it clears out everything out of the chat. The other nice feature here is that although we would see a list here of all of the participants in this event, but I can have the opportunity through this feature here called Whisper Chat I could select one of the other participants, click Whisper Chat, and it would open up a separate chat box where I could just talk to them privately and no one else would see. So that's a nice feature. You have the ability to mute all users and unmute all users, so or mute a particular user over here. That's helpful if you have somebody in the class, although it's pretty rare, but it can happen that you have somebody that's maybe dominating the chat box or might even be inappropriate in the chat box. You can simply just mute them and then they will no longer have the ability to chat. The admin chat tab is where administrators or presenters, anybody who's logged into the event as an administrator or presenter, can chat amongst themselves. So if there's more than one, for example, moderator on this particular event, on your event, you could chat and interact with them this way as well. Or again, you could go back here and just set up a whisper chat between you and that particular administrator. The whiteboard here, this gives you the ability to actually enable whiteboard for all participants. It's defaulted right now to off, but I could enable it or disable it for everybody, or I could actually just, again, because I'm don't have other users logged in here, I could click on them and just allow whiteboard controls to them independently. And I'll just show you here. If I go up to the window menu, show whiteboard tools, there's my whiteboard tools. I can bring them down here. I have what's called a light pen here. Let's make it blue, and that allows me to draw anywhere on the interface, as you can see, and the light pen will just stay on for a few seconds and turn off, and there it goes. So that's helpful if you want to just highlight something but don't want to leave, you know, the line, the mark on the actual screen, or I want to just explain that here's my video, and okay, everybody, if you look down here, this is where you can chat. So you're allowed to draw all over the interface with that. Or I can just use it, for example, as a highlight tool. So for example, I'll take a pencil, and of course with the pencil I can draw, and I can also undo what I drew, or clear the entire screen. But I can now, through this feature, for example, I'm going to create a nice thick line by adjusting it there, and this will adjust the opacity here, so we're going to bring this down to about there, and you'll see now I can draw and just use that as a highlighter. Maybe it might be better to do that in typical highlighter yellow. So I can do that like that. This feature here allows me to actually move around any of the items that I've drawn on the screen. This also actually is a line tool, so I could have done my highlight with that as well, just be a cleaner line. And of course, again, I could just undo that, and that gets rid of the last thing I did. This allows me to add text, so we're going to just, I can change the size here. Let's make it 47. And I can type that way as well. And the last feature here is these set icons that I can, let's go back up to, I can draw on the screen. So, or if I want to put a check mark on there or an X, I can do that as well. So that's how your whiteboard tools work, and of course you can just close them or minimize them this way. And again, as I said earlier, I can actually, if I want one of the participants to work with me on the screen, drawing on the screen, I can just activate the whiteboard tools for them individually. The last window here is the question window, and it connects to this particular question window over here. So when someone now clicks on this particular box and enters a question, the presenter or the administrator is going to hear a buzzing noise, That's just to indicate to them audibly that someone has entered a question, and that question will show up in this particular tab. And as an administrator or presenter, I can also open up here a separate question window where I would see all the questions in one particular place. So I'm just going to I'm going to add a question in here. Could you explain that better? Okay, and I'm going to save that. And let's see here. Save. Okay, and that was the noise you're hearing there that the presenter would hear. And of course, it tracks when, the date and time that this particular question was asked. And you can see it down here, and it shows that Rick is the person that asked it. So if somebody asks a private question, and you can look at it here and respond to them, obviously, while you're on video, but you don't have to mention anybody's name, so you don't have to embarrass anybody if it's private. And of course, you can also, if you want, go back to that user in the chat screen over here and send them a private message or response if you wanted to type it. So that's essentially how this part of the interface works. You also have the ability to share a website, share files, share my screen, or share a video, which often many people like to do. So I'm going to just go over here, for example, to YouTube, and we're going to grab a video. Let's say this one here, and I'm going to.
You know why I'm making this video?
Because
Israel's having a big birthday.
Okay, but to promote Israel's 65th birthday, and that's our video. Grab the share link. I'm going to go back here, drop that in. We're going to call that Israel video, and I can add it to the list if I want. I can also just play it right here, and there it is. Now it's shown up in my.
You know why I'm making this video? Because
presentation.
Israel's having a big birthday.
So what I can do now also is resize this video while it's playing.
I live there.
Do you know what birthday Israel's having?
I live in Israel too.
You live in Israel.
Now I'm going to go back to layout as I did earlier when I created this main layout.
Did you know Israel's having a birthday?
I know.
We're going to save the layout, and we're going to call it video.
7.
Make layout.
84. I know.
So now I'm going to close this.
10, 9, 8.
There we go. If I'm doing my presentation, I say, okay guys, I want to show you this great video on Israel. All I got to do is go to my layout, click video, and
you know why I'm making this video? Because
there it
Israel's
is, it
having a
starts
big
playing.
birthday.
Of course, I could make it any size I wanted to. If I wanted to make it full screen and save that as a layout, I would simply just
You know what birthday Israel's having?
I live in Israel.
do that and save that as a
You live in Israel
layout.
too?
So there's a lot of different ways
Did you know Israel's having?
that you can use that function, that layout, save layout function. The other thing that I wanted to show you here is this very important window over here, down here on the right, which indicates two things. One is that this particular event is open, and the system defaults to open, meaning that people can actually get in. So you want to leave that open. And the other is when you want to create an archive, a recording of this particular event. So to actually create an archive, when you start your class, you're just going to click here on the word off, give it a name. We'll call it recording 1. Okay. And now you'll see recording is on. You can see that down here. And when I'm finished at the end of my class, I'm just going to click on that again, and that will turn to off. And now I've created an archive. In another tutorial, I'll show you how to post that archive. So the other important feature here is the ability to actually show your video. So what you're going to do in order to do that is go down to the Streams Manager here, and I'm using my camera right now to record this screencast, so I can't put my video in there. But the way you would do it is you would click over here on this camera icon, right? Click to enable your webcam. It would pop up a flash box which would allow you to allow your camera, And then you would go into the Streams Manager, see your stream in here, and just simply drag it into number 1 to, of course there's no stream in there, but that now would be actually showing my video if I had my video running. The important thing you need to do when you, actually one of the things I could do here, let me see here if I can, I got a little video of a cat here. This would be you as a presenter, but I'm just throwing it in there with a cat at the moment. So what I've done is selected my camera, and I can actually go now here in these camera settings, which I selected here, brought this up, where I can select my video input device if it's not showing up for whatever reason, and the quality of the video. And if you have a really good connection to the internet, and I would say that would be anywhere between 2 megabits and higher, you can feel free to kind of crank this up a little bit to 80, leave the video size where it is for now. This is pretty much a standard video quality. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to adjust my microphone here if I want to change the volume level on the microphone. Usually with a decent microphone, around 50 is a good spot to be. Click OK, and again I can remove my video, and as I did earlier, if I want to make my video live, I would just do that, and now there's my live video, and I'm teaching my class. So those are the basics of how to actually get the classroom up and running. And again, if you have any other specific questions, you can be in touch with me directly. I'm happy to help you with that. But that's the basic overview of how the presentation interface works.